Hello, welcome to Anita the Pedagogue channel. Today we continue with our literature analysis. We are looking at a poem by Claude McKay, and the poem is If We Must Die. Now let's go on and look at our lesson outline. We will look at a biography of the poet, the title, the structure of the poem, its analysis, the literary devices, the themes, and I'll share some likely examination questions with you. Let's begin with the biography of Claude McKay, who was born Festus Claudius McKay in Sunnyvale, Jamaica on September 15, 1889. His parents, Thomas Francis and Hannah Ann Elizabeth Nee Edwards, were poor farmers. In 1912, McKay published his first book of the verse in Kingston titled Songs of Jamaica, which recorded his impressions of black life in Jamaica in dialect. His second book, Constant Ballads, was published in London. During the 20s, McKay developed interest in communism and social justice. He aligned himself with Marcus Garvey and the United Negro Improvement Association. McKay was also an acquaintance of Leon Trotsky. In 1934, McKay moved back to the United States and lived in Harlem, New York. Losing faith in communism, he turned his attention to the teachings of various spiritual and political leaders, eventually converting to Catholicism. By the 1940s, McKay had developed both health issues and financial problems. Midway through the decade, he suffered from dropsy and moved briefly to Albuquerque at a doctor's recommendation. McKay then left for Chicago in September 1946, where he remained until the end of his life. Claude McKay died in Chicago on May 22, 1948. Now let's look at the title If We Must Die. It begins right away from a condition, if. This gives the reader the idea that there are a list of things that need to be done before the condition happens or is fulfilled. Or this condition may also refer to a general truth of what is to happen. It is a call for African Americans to fight against oppression and racism. The poem encourages them to stand up for their rights and not fear death in the 1900s. And today, it is a wake-up call for any person that is marginalized, any group that is facing oppression. If we must die. If we must die, let it not be like hawks, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lots. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us, though dead. O kingsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave, like men who face the murderers, cowardly packed, pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. It's a very powerful poem by Claude McKay. Right from the start, it is a call to action, a wake-up call with a very strong tone. Let's go on and look at the poem structure. So this is a sonnet. It is a 14-line poem. It is described as a Shakespearean or an English sonnet because it is organized in 3 quatrains and a closing couplet. So the 14 lines is made up of 3 quatrains and a closing couplet. We also realize that the poem follows a very consistent and strict rhyme scheme that conforms to the A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, and G, and rhyme scheme pattern, also in iambic pentameter. The tone of the poem shows the speaker's confidence and defiance in inciting his kinsmen, his compatriots, to fight. And it shows a call to action, encouraging the listeners or the audience of the poem to rise and demand their rights. Let's go on and look at the analysis of the first quatrain as the first 4 lines. The speaker commences this initial quatrain with the condition that he and his compatriots, if they must die, should ensure it's not like hawks who are pursued in their humiliating abode, which he describes as an inglorious spot, their home. As the speaker compares himself and his people to hawks, he also metaphorically compares his oppressors to mad and hungry dogs. The speaker explains further this treatment meted out to him and his people exacerbates or worsens their already doomed lives. This quatrain calls the speaker's audience to rise and fight against the oppressors. In the second quatrain, the next 4 lines, the speaker urges his target audience, who are African Americans in the 1900s, faced with racism, segregation, and oppression, to choose honorable deaths. As we see in Let Us All Nobly Die. Also, in the enjambment of the lines 6 to 7, it is evident the speaker is aware that he and his kinsmen will die anyway. Still, he encourages them to choose to fight to their death for their oppressors, whom he refers to as monsters, will then honor them even when they are no more. In the third quatrain, the speaker emphasizes their need to retaliate or fight their common foe, the enemy, the oppressor. He acknowledges he and his kinsmen are in the minority, said, though far outnumbered, let us show us bravery, but urges them to be brave, and in spite of their persecution, with unity, they will conquer. For their 1,000 blows deal 1 death blow. So when they come together, their blow would be just 1, but it's a death blow. They will be able to conquer. In profound rhetoric, the speaker says, what though before us lies the open grave? This particular rhetoric reminds that their death is evident no matter what happens. There is an open grave to swallow them, but he encourages them to be brave nonetheless. In the last 2 lines, which is the couplet, the speaker uses a simile to compare his kinsmen to normal men and not hawks, as seen in the first quatrain where he referred to he and his compatriots, his kinsmen, as hawks. He paints gruesome imagery of him and his kinsmen being cowardly packed and pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. This couplet gives the speaker's complete message for his kinsmen to remain united against all odds, to never give up, and continue fighting against their oppressors. Let's look at the literary devices. Alliteration. There's been the repetition of the consonant sounds in some words must meet M and deal death blow D in line 11. Then metaphor, hawks, as a metaphor referring to the speaker and his kinsmen, and also mad hungry dogs makes reference to the oppressor of the speaker and his kinsmen. Then there is the use of enjambment, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy. So line 6 to 7, there is the use of enjambment. We also see that in line 8 and in line 9. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal 1 death blow. Okay, there's also the use of repetition. The phrase if we must die has been repeated. There is the use of simile. If we must die, let it not be like hawks. So a comparison of how the speaker and his people shouldn't die like hawks. Also, we have the use of metaphor. While round us back the mad hungry dogs, comparing the oppressors to dogs directly. Also the use of apostrophe. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. So calling the kinsmen as if they were present. Symbolism. Open grave represents the speaker, he and his kinsmen's imminent death. As a rhetoric, this phrase suggests that the speaker is questioning his kinsmen about their choice Knowing that their death will come anyway, will they fight to die or just allow themselves to die deaths that are not noble? Also, the wall is also a symbol, and the wall could possibly represent the limit of tolerance of his kinsmen, just like the English idiom to have your back against the wall, to be in a situation that exhausts all that you can do. Let's look at the themes. Defiance and bravery. The poem's defiant tone calls out for marginalized, oppressed people who receive injustice to rise bravely and face their oppressors. McKay incites this target audience, African Americans, to fight for their rights even if death seems inevitable. The speaker highlights the horrific experiences of oppression they face with the West's inglorious spots as their home, hawks, referring to themselves, and accursed lots as their doomed lives right from the word go, to show the deplorable lives he and his kinsmen face. Therefore, the need to rise bravely to fight to attain honor after their imminent death, as let us nobly die. The poem still calls out to any group of people who are oppressed to fight and demand their rights. The theme equality and justice. If We Must Die also projects the themes of equality and justice. McKay's poem highlights the importance of fighting for equal rights and fair treatment, particularly in the face of systemic oppression from the oppressors, whom he refers to as the mad and hungry dogs, the monsters, and the murderers. The poem suggests that even in the face of imminent death, it is better, let us nobly die, to fight for justice than to accept oppression merely. McKay suggests that individuals can leave a legacy that inspires future generations to continue the struggle for freedom and equality. Unity and solidarity for Black identity. The speaker of the poem emphasizes the theme of unity and solidarity in the face of adversity. The poem speaks to the power of collective action and the strength of coming together by urging readers to fight as a unified front. The speaker emphasizes the need for solidarity in the face of oppression. All kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave. McKay, a prominent figure of the Harlem Renaissance, wrote this poem during racial discrimination and segregation. If We Must Die calls for Black individuals to embrace their identity, reject the notion of inferiority, and assert their worth and dignity. Let's move on and look at some likely examination questions. Explore the significance of the title If We Must Die concerning the poem's themes and message. How does the title contribute to the overall tone and meaning of the poem? Analyze the imagery used in If We Must Die. How do vivid descriptions and visual language enhance the poem's emotional impact? Discuss the role of unity and solidarity in If We Must Die. How does McKay emphasize the importance of collective action in the fight against oppression? Compare the tone and message of If We Must Die with other poems from the Harlem Renaissance. How does McKay's poem contribute to the broader themes and concerns of the movement? How does McKay address the fear of death and the desire to leave a lasting impact? Analyze rhyme and rhythm in If We Must Die. How does McKay's use of poetic devices contribute to the overall structure and impact of the poem? Discuss the significance of the speaker's mood and tone in If We Must Die. How does the speaker's perspective shape the poem's meaning and tone? Explore the theme of racial identity and pride in the poem If We Must Die. Discuss the role of defiance and passion in the poem If We Must Die, and how does McKay harness these emotions to create a sense of urgency and determination. I hope this lesson was useful to you. Please put in your comments and questions and I'll respond to them. Do like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Until I come your way again, keep learning and be the best version of yourself.